The wrench clanged against the floor. "Damn it," Jace muttered, wiping grease off his forehead with the back of his hand. Sweat dripped down his jawline, carving paths through the grime that coated his neck. He glanced up at the sun, the kind of cruel southern heat that baked the rust on every bolt he touched. But there was something comforting about it, too. The same hum of cicadas, the same faded service bay of Redline Auto, and the same smell of motor oil and old coffee. This was his world. And even if his wallet was empty and his boots had more duct tape than leather, he still showed up. Every single morning. He was halfway through replacing a fuel injector on an old Dodge Ram when the screech of tires cut through the stillness. He looked up just in time to see a sleek black SUV fishtail slightly as it turned into the gravel lot, kicking up a cloud of dust. The front bumper was scuffed, smoke curled faintly from the hood, and one of the tires looked nearly flat. He stood, wiping his hands on a rag. Whoever that was, they were lost. Redline Auto wasn't on any tourist route. In fact, it wasn't on any route at all unless you knew the town like a lifer. The SUV door slammed open. She stepped out. Power walked on heels too expensive for this road. A white button-down shirt smudged with what looked like ash near the hem, designer sunglasses covering half her face, and frustration radiating off her like heat from a car hood. "Is this even a real repair shop?" she snapped, looking around the faded signs and chipped paint like it personally offended her. Jace blinked. "Not a five-star resort, if that's what you're skin, but yeah, it's real. And I fix cars, not attitudes." She paused, lips parting slightly in disbelief. "I didn't come here for sarcasm, and I didn't wake up hoping for a New York attitude in my shop." Jace shot back, but there was no venom in his voice, just tired honesty. She flinched. Maybe she wasn't used to people talking to her like that. He sighed. "Pop the hood." She did, reluctantly, and he walked over, already pulling on gloves. "Overheated," he muttered, leaning in. Fan belt snapped, coolant everywhere. "You kept driving." "There was no signal," she said defensively, "and I didn't exactly plan on breaking down in wherever this is." Jace chuckled. "Welcome to Granger Hollow. Population small enough to know who stole your pie at church. You're about 3 counties from anywhere that matters to people like you." She folded her arms. "People like me?" He looked at her, really looked this time. Underneath the attitude and designer clothes, she looked exhausted. Pale, dark circles under her eyes, knuckles white from gripping the steering wheel too hard. She wasn't just lost on the road. She looked lost in her soul. He softened. "Yeah, city folks. Always running from something." Her lips twitched. "You think you've got me figured out?" "No, but your radiator's cooked, and you ain't going anywhere for at least 5 hours." She groaned. "You've got to be kidding me. Wish I was. You can wait inside. There's AC, stale coffee, and a dog that steals food when you're not looking. Or you can stay out here and glare at me while I work. Your call." She hesitated, glanced toward the small office that looked like it hadn't been painted since the 90s, then muttered, "Fine," and walked inside. Jace got to work. He didn't ask questions. Didn't pry. That was rule 1 in a town like this. People talked when they were ready. But as he worked, he found his eyes drifting toward the office window where she sat, shoulders slumped, head in her hands like she carried a world nobody else saw. 3 hours later, covered in sweat, he walked in holding a cold soda in one hand and a grease-streaked invoice in the other. "Name's Jace," he said, placing the soda in front of her. She blinked at it. "I didn't ask for that. Didn't say you did. But you look like you could use one. And the job's done. Fan belt's new, coolant topped up. Ran a full check." She slowly took the soda, her fingers brushing his. "Thanks. So, what's your name?" he asked gently. She looked away. "Mara." "Mara," he repeated. "Well, Mara, if you don't mind me a skin, what's a woman like you doing driving solo through the back roads of Granger Hollow in a car worth more than my entire garage?" She hesitated for a long beat. Then, with a voice low and trembling, she said, "I needed to disappear for a while." He didn't push, but she added, almost in a whisper, "I built a company from the ground up, and the people I trusted tried to tear it from me." Jace leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Well, they clearly underestimated you. You don't strike me as the type who stays down long." She gave a sad smile. "I wasn't supposed to break down here, but maybe I needed to." He tilted his head. "Sometimes the best turns come from the worst detours." There was a silence between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. You didn't even ask for a credit card or anything, she said suddenly. Didn't need to. You looked like you were holding enough weight already. Besides, kindness don't cost nothing. You're safe now. That's what matters. Her eyes glistened. And Jace, for the first time in a long time, he realized maybe the universe had brought her here for a reason. Jace didn't see her for 3 days after that. He'd assumed she drove off, back to her world of skyscrapers and polished boardrooms, forgetting about the dusty mechanic who handed her a soda and a kind word. That's what usually happened. People passed through Granger Hollow, took what they needed, and never looked back. But then she came back, this time walking. Same white shirt, clean this time, but tied at the waist like she'd rolled up her sleeves and said goodbye to comfort. She looked different, softer around the edges. Her hair was pulled into a ponytail, no sunglasses to shield her eyes. You're back, Jace said, genuinely surprised. She smirked just a little. You said something about stale coffee. He chuckled and motioned inside. Help yourself. It's been brewing since the Nixon administration. She stepped in, inhaled the oil-stained air of the garage like it grounded her, and sat at the corner of the workbench instead of the office chair this time. He glanced at her. Everything okay? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she stared at the floor for a long second, then finally spoke. My CFO leaked confidential documents to a competitor, a man I mentored for 5 years. I trusted him more than I trusted my own reflection. I found out 2 days ago. Jace froze, rag in hand. He tried to force me out. She continued, voice growing steelier. Framed me for financial misconduct. Made me look like the villain, and the board believed him. He's sitting in my chair right now. Jace whistled low. Hell of a betrayal. I thought so too. And now. She met his eyes. Now I'm buying time. Laying low. Watching from the shadows. I still have access to certain back doors they don't know about. But if I'm going to take it all back, I need to know who I can trust. Jace nodded slowly. You always been that alone. That stopped her cold. She looked away. No one starts out alone, she said. But power has a way of thinning out the crowd. Jace walked over, leaned against the table beside her. You know, around here, we call that a hollow victory. Big house, no laughter. Big title, no peace. She swallowed hard. He continued, softer now. You didn't come back for coffee. Why are you really here? Her voice broke. Because I don't know where else to go, where someone isn't waiting to take something from me. That hit him harder than he expected. He stood slowly. You ever work with your hands, Mara? She blinked. What? He grinned. Get your hands dirty. Actually fix something that can't lie to you. I built $1 billion company from a single patent, she said, mildly defensive. Yeah, but did you feel it? In your chest, under your nails, in your back muscles? Ever break a bolt loose and scream when it finally gives? That kind of real. She narrowed her eyes. What are you suggesting? He tossed her a set of gloves. I've got an old '67 Mustang that's been sitting in that bay since before you showed up. You want to fix something? Start with that. There was silence. Then a small smile played across her lips. You're serious. Dead serious. And you think it's going to help me take back a global empire? No, Jace said. But it might remind you what you're made of. Over the next week, Mara kept showing up. Every morning. No drivers, no phone calls, no laptops. Just her and a rusted-out Mustang, and Jace teaching her how to rebuild a carburetor. Her hands blistered, nails chipped, and she got coolant in her hair once and didn't even scream. Jace didn't ask questions, and Mara didn't offer explanations. But bit by bit, he noticed the change. She laughed once, really laughed, when he spilled coffee on his shirt and cursed like an old sailor. She brought sandwiches one afternoon, said it was nothing. But Jace noticed the way she watched him while he worked, eyes searching for something she hadn't quite found yet. One day, as they sat beside the open hood, Mara asked, Why are you still here? In this town, in this life, she clarified. Jace stared at the engine, then replied, I lost someone once. My brother. Street racing accident. I was under the hood of his car the night before. I should have checked the brakes. I didn't. Mara's breath hitched. I stayed, 'cause this place, it's where I remember who I used to be. And maybe, if I do enough good here, I'll forgive myself. She touched his arm, softly. That's not your fault, Jace. Neither is what happened to you, Mara. Their eyes met. But just as something warm sparked between them, her phone rang. She looked at the screen and stiffened. I have to go. He nodded, backing away. Of course. But as she walked to the SUV she'd left in the lot the first day, she turned back. They think I'm broken, she said. They think I ran away. He raised an eyebrow. And are they wrong? She stared at him, voice trembling. I'm not running. I'm loading the gun. And with that, she drove off, leaving dust in her wake and Jace standing there, heart pounding, knowing something was coming. Something big. Something that would change everything. The next time Mara showed up, it wasn't in the SUV. It was on foot. Her heels were gone, replaced by worn sneakers. Her button-down shirt traded for a faded navy tee. But the look in her eyes, that hadn't changed. It had only sharpened. I need your help, she said. Jace didn't hesitate. You got it. She glanced behind her, nervous. Not here. Somewhere quiet. He led her into the back garage, where the walls were thicker and the noise of the world didn't reach. The place he went when he didn't want to be found. She pulled out a flash drive. This is the blueprint to everything they've done. Embezzlement, offshore laundering, fabricated audits. I traced it back to 2 board members and my ex-CFO, Aaron Grant. The man who called me family, who smiled at my father's funeral, who's trying to erase my name from everything I built. Jace's jaw clenched. You got proof. I built the system, she whispered. Of course I have proof. But you can't go to the authorities. If I go to the SEC, they'll bury it. My enemies have connections. Deep ones. They'll spin it. Say I'm bitter. Say I'm unstable. Her voice cracked. They already did. Jace's knuckles went white around the edge of the table. So, what are you planning? She looked up. And in that moment, Mara didn't look like a CEO. She looked like a soldier who'd seen too many battles. I'm going to burn them down, she said. But not the way they expect. I'm going to make them watch everything they stole implode. Legally. Publicly. Irreversibly. Jace nodded slowly. And where do I come in? You're the only person I trust who doesn't want anything from me. He studied her. That's a lot of weight to put on someone you barely know. She met his eyes. I know enough. The plan wasn't simple. Over the next 2 weeks, Mara worked from Jace's office. The old computer he hadn't updated in years ran just slow enough to be untraceable. She used burner phones, encrypted messages, and late-night calls with a whistleblower from the inside. Jace watched her change. Each night, she stayed later. Grease still on her jeans from helping in the shop, typing like a demon, eyes red but focused. There was fury in her, but not the reckless kind. It was calculated, sharp, and underneath it all, pain. One night, Jace stepped in with 2 beers. You ever sleep? He asked. She didn't look up. Only when the rage quiets down. He leaned against the doorframe. You don't have to do this alone. I've been alone since I was 15. He took a swig. That by choice. She finally met his eyes. It was survival. He walked over, handed her the second beer. Well, you ain't alone now. She stared at it, then at him. And for the first time, her walls faltered. Why are you doing this? She asked softly. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Jace looked her dead in the eye. Because I've seen people fall. Good people. And every time someone like you gets back up, it gives the rest of us hope. She blinked fast. You believe I'm a good person? I think you're a broken person doing something good. And that's more powerful than you realize. It all came to a head on a Friday. Mara received an anonymous text. 1 word. Tonight. She looked at Jace. He's holding an emergency board meeting. They're planning to finalize my removal. Permanently. Jace grabbed his jacket. So we go. She shook her head. You can't come. The hell I can't. It's not safe. He stepped closer. Neither is fixing cars for people who don't pay. Doesn't stop me. She stared at him for a beat too long, then finally nodded. All right. But if anything goes sideways, you run. Jay smiled. You really don't know me yet, do you? They drove through the night. A borrowed sedan. No GPS. No calls. Just adrenaline and fury. By the time they reached the city, Mara had changed into a sleek black dress she'd kept in her trunk. She looked powerful, unshakable, but Jace saw the tremble in her hands. As she walked toward the glass skyscraper that bore her name, before they scraped it off, Jace whispered, "Make them remember who you are." She turned back, eyes fierce. "I'm not here to be remembered," she said. "I'm here to remind them I was never gone." Inside, chaos had already begun. Mara barged into the boardroom mid-vote, silence crashing over the polished table like a thunderclap. Aaron stood up. Security. Sit, she commanded. And somehow, he did. She dropped a file onto the table. Then another. And another. Every lie. Every theft. Every forged signature. Right here. And this flash drive? It's already with 3 investigative journalists. So if anything happens to me, your careers end in prison orange. Gasps. Murmurs. A few turned pale. Aaron stammered. You can't. She leaned forward. I built this. You think I don't know where the bodies are buried? A silent vote followed. Unanimous. She was reinstated. Aaron was escorted out in handcuffs. 2 others resigned on the spot. As the boardroom emptied, Jay stood in the doorway, jaw tight, hands in his pockets. Watching her. Waiting. She walked toward him slowly, heels echoing in the hallway. Then she stopped. I did it, she said, voice cracking. He stepped forward, pulled her into his arms. You did. And for the first time in years, Mara Gray, CEO of the largest auto company in the world, let herself cry. Not from fear, not from anger, but from finally being free. The storm didn't end with a reinstatement. It only changed shape. The next morning, Mara sat at the edge of her high-rise office, staring at the skyline she once ruled, now tinged with smoke and uncertainty. Her name was back on the wall, but the silence around her felt heavier than ever. A knock on the glass. Jace. He didn't belong in this world. His boots made the marble floors look foreign. His hands still bore grease from a morning oil change. But when Mara saw him, she stood without hesitation. I need air, she whispered. They walked out to the terrace. The wind whipped her hair back. Below, the city buzzed, unaware of the war she'd just survived. I thought it would feel better, she admitted. Jace leaned on the railing beside her. You thought revenge would heal the wound. I wanted justice. You got it. Now what? She didn't answer, because she didn't know. That night, they returned to Granger Hollow. Not because they had to, but because Mara needed to remember who she'd been before power corrupted everything. She stayed in a local inn. No penthouse. No assistants. Just silence. Jace brought her coffee every morning. They worked side by side in the shop. She didn't need to, but she wanted to. They share more now. About his brother. About her mother, who left when she was 12. About the night Mara slept in her office because she had no home left after her ex destroyed her credit to control her. Each confession peeled another layer. One afternoon, while working on the same '67 Mustang, Mara set down a wrench and looked at Jace. Come with me, she said. Back to the city. Help me build it the right way this time. Jace paused, then shook his head. City ain't for me, Mara. She looked crushed, but he wasn't done. But you don't have to go back to being her. She frowned. The woman who forgot how to breathe. Silence. I want to help people, Jace. Not crush them. I want to create jobs. Build cars that don't kill the planet. Mentor women who keep getting passed over. Then do it. But you don't have to become steel to lead steel. Her eyes welled up. I don't want to lose you. You won't. 3 months passed. Mara rebuilt her company from the inside out. Clean house. Restructured. She promoted engineers from the garage to the boardroom. Created policies that protected whistleblowers. Cut her salary in half to fund a new foundation that trained women in underprivileged communities to become auto techs. And every Friday, she drove 3 hours to Granger Hollow. Jace never asked her to, but she always came. One Friday, she arrived early, walked into the garage to find a dozen young girls in coveralls, listening as Jace taught them how to change a tire. She watched from the doorway. When he saw her, he grinned. Hope you're not here to take my job. She stepped in. Only if you're hiring. The girls laughed. Mara took over for a bit. Taught them how to identify worn brake pads. The look in their eyes, the wonder, the confidence. It filled something in her she didn't know had gone empty. Later that night, they sat under the stars. The Mustang finally roared beside them, rebuilt with love and oil and too many scraped knuckles to count. Jace handed her a beer. I got something for you, he said, reaching into his back pocket. He handed her a folded photo. It was her, covered in grease, laughing with a wrench in her hand. One of the girls must have taken it. You look more alive in that picture than any press photo of you in a suit. She smiled. Then she reached in her bag and handed him a set of keys. He looked confused. That's the deed, she said, to a new auto training center. funded by my company, but run by you. You'll get to teach anyone you want. No red tape. He stared at her. Why me? Because when I broke down on the side of the road, everyone else saw a problem. Her voice caught. But you saw a person. He blinked hard. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Then she leaned in. I don't care about titles anymore, Jace. I care about where I feel whole. And for some reason, that's beside you. He looked at her, heart pounding. I'm just a mechanic, Mara. She smiled through a tear. And I'm just a woman who finally stopped running. He pulled her close. And under the stars of a quiet southern sky, the woman who built empires and the man who fixed broken things found peace in each other.